Mr. O'Brien, thank you for being here. In regards to the USDA's outreach and assistance, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the resources you have available to help rural communities close the skills gap so that businesses can find enough trained people to locate their facilities in these communities.
Sure. Senator, thank you for that question. The workforce development issues, I think, are some of the most critical in rural places. A report that I cited in my testimony actually cites workforce development investments many times in rural places are those that will get the greatest return as long as that investment is tied to a larger, more comprehensive regional economic development strategy. What we're able to do within our programs at USDA Rural Development, one particular program, the business grant program, before the 2014 Farm Bill, the Rural Business Entrepreneur Grant Program, as well as two other grant programs that we have, we can provide resources to intermediaries that have as part of their strategy to do workforce development. Within the federal family, I've learned over time, certainly the Department of Labor really has the real resources for workforce development. Part of what we've done at Rural Development in the last 4 or 5 years is work much more closely with community colleges. I found that in many places, community college actually, they can and maybe are the only anchor institution in a rural region that have the capacity to plan and to work with all the different types of entities that are key for a successful strategy. Obviously, their bread and butter is workforce development. I was in Western Tennessee about 3 weeks ago in Dyersburg, about 2 months ago in Dyersburg, Tennessee, and saw a fantastic partnership between the community college there and 10 small manufacturers with very tailored classes in workforce development to support the jobs, to keep the people who want to stay in that rural place. And we do have some resources, and we draw in other federal resources to support that kind of effort.
In the follow-up, the other key to a lot of this economic development then becomes, okay, we need to have the skills, we need to have the skilled people, and then you look and you go, do we have the infrastructure to be competitive?
Right.
And so I was wondering, in regards to the USDA, what are you doing in terms of some of our rural communities to help them put together a comprehensive infrastructure plan so that, okay, a business is willing to take a look, we may have enough skilled people here, but access to market and other infrastructure for the community.
Yeah, that infrastructure plan is key to a small towns. I was last week in Booley, Oklahoma, small town of 1,100, very low resource place, deep infrastructure needs. We've been able to help them invest in their water and wastewater infrastructure, but they hadn't updated their plans, I think, for at least a decade, if not decades, for infrastructure. And they had the exact same question. We have some resources at USDA Rural Development, but I do need to be candid that over the last, particularly the last 4 or 5 years, our grant dollars have diminished, as have a lot of grant dollars across the federal government. But I certainly have seen small towns and regions who have been able to put together and leverage dollars, whether that's with their regional planning organization, whether it's a COG or an ADD or whatever it is in their place, with the county and with others, to craft those strategies. I think the new Farm Bill provision provides that incentive to make sure that towns make those plans so that the taxpayer dollars that you provide USDA can go farther and make the biggest impact in rural places.
One of the things I worry about is losing our young people in a lot of our rural communities, and it's jobs, it's quality of life, it is the chance to have them trained with appropriate skills, to have the infrastructure in the town or community to encourage good jobs to come. But losing the young people, it almost creates a spiral that starts. And so after skills and after infrastructure, what are the other things that you look at and say, here are the kind of elements that are critical to keeping people at home and having them build their future right here.
Well, I think clearly the most important element these days is making sure that high-speed broadband is available in the rural place. The National Telecom Association has a great report that I cited when I was with their national meeting on how actually the majority of people who grow up in a rural place, this isn't going to be a surprise to any of you, but they want to stay in that rural place if they can. And they asked about different types of amenities. And right at the top of the list was they simply need to have access to high-speed broadband. You know, USDA has important programs. We've been able to push broadband out in areas, in particular with some of the Recovery Act funding, but there's still work to do, and we work closely with our sister agencies to do that. I think another thing that maybe people don't talk about as much is, and a lot of this can be highlighted in some of the regional strategies, is realizing the cultural and the recreation assets in rural places. Young people, more and more actually, value the opportunity to ski or snowmobile or hike or fish or hunt. More and more, actually, people in urban areas with discretionary income are spending dollars on things like that. So, you know, kind of one of the basic tenets of a lot of the regional strategies is look at the assets you have. Focusing on those recreational and natural assets, lifting up with some relatively low investments. It might be in a bike trail. It might be in a music festival. But it's that extra little bit that will make that mid-level manager for a manufacturer. You know, I hear a lot about that can be the hardest part for a small manufacturer of 20 or 30 jobs, and they're trying to find that person who's kind of that mid-manager to run the place. And they have a hard time getting that family to come to that rural place and stay in that rural place. There's great things happening in rural America. You know, we know there's a great quality of life, and it's lifting it up, and maybe a few key investments to make it an even better place.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.